Anyway, my political sources tonight are the former mayor of New York and one-time debate opponent of President Biden, Bill de Blasio, also the former deputy campaign manager for Ron DeSantis' presidential run, David Polyansky, and CNN senior political commentator Anna Navarro. It's great to have you all here. Mayor, in this new poll, it's pretty interesting. It's nothing groundbreaking, but we're watching kind of every movement here, and it shows a 3-point change since May where Biden is up. Obviously, it's margin of error, but as we're tracking the Fox News poll, the New York Times poll, I wonder what that says to you and also what it means for what President Biden needs to do on Thursday night next week.
Well, first of all, I really envy Joe Biden because it's just such a wonderful opportunity to have a strong, aggressive game plan and go in there and mix it up with Donald Trump. Just look him in the face and call him a convicted felon 20 times and just tell him to his face, you took away a woman's right to choose. You've owned that publicly. How you feel about this? Just get right up on him. And I don't think Trump handles that well. I think Biden can be really feisty, really strong. Look, I did debate against him, and he has a great common touch. He has the ability to elevate and get intense and focused. And I think it's interesting that Trump is consistently trying to lower expectations because I think they painted themselves into a little bit of a corner here. Having said so many times Joe Biden can't handle it, Joe Biden's about to handle it and get a great advantage. One more thing on the polling. Months and months of Trump extremism, months and months of saying things that moderate Americans just can't live with. That's what we're seeing. That's having an impact.
What's so interesting is we sometimes hear from Democrats, and Axios is reporting this today, about a criticism that the Biden campaign is focusing too much on democracy and not kitchen table issues like inflation. And we saw this in this poll today. The top two issues in this Fox News poll, Anna, say that voters are the future of American democracy and the economy. Both of them.
Yeah, I don't know why polls think and why some strategists think that the American public isn't capable of walking and chewing gum at the same time, of worrying about their pocketbook issues and worrying about democracy. And I don't understand how you don't worry about democracy when you are constantly hearing Trump and the people around him talking about retribution and revenge. That would worry me tremendously as somebody that might be the target of his revenge. That worries me personally, but it worries me for the country as a whole. And look, I'm so glad he's no longer on trial, that he's been convicted and he's no longer on trial because he's now out doing rallies and speaking publicly. And every day he says stupid things. If he's not talking about sharks, he's talking about batteries or windmills. And today accusing Joe Biden, who doesn't even drink alcohol, unlike me, about being a cocaine addict, for the love of God.
David, what do you make of everything and what we're seeing in these new polls?
Well, look, I think at this point, when these two candidates faced off, at this stage of the race, Joe Biden was up by almost 9 points. And so as we hover on national polls talking about it within the margin of error, that's actually a really tough sign for the president right now. And more importantly, when you look at the Real Clear Politics average across all the battleground states, they're not 7 battleground states anymore. They're really 3. And that's the firewall for the president, which is the Rust Belt. Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And right now, on the Real Clear Politics average, Trump's ahead in all 3 of those states. So I think the debate next week is almost a make or break moment for the president. Yes, it's an opportunity for sure to stand on the stage and make the differences that the American public needs to hear. But more importantly, he's got to shift the narrative because the race is not in his favor. And right now, there's not a path.
Republicans keep editing and cutting and splicing videos and making him look like a completely senile, decrepit old man. And I think they're doing themselves such a disservice because they've made it so that if Joe Biden shows up at this debate and doesn't die behind the podium, he's had a good night.
Well, that's right. Look, we saw that in the State of the Union. It was the same thing.
He had a great night.
They set the bar so low. And you're right. I had the same thought about the videos that we've been seeing. And then if he gets up there and he's not, wandering off and what they say. But you've actually been on the debate stage with President Biden. You're the only person at the table who can say that. What do you think he needs to do besides going after Donald Trump? There's that image from 2019 in August. I'm sure you remember it well in Detroit. What do you think he needs to do besides calling Donald Trump a convicted felon, as you noted?
Look, he has a chance to change this race by bringing home American moderate voters. I really believe that. And this is why, although I agree with you, if you look at the polling, you could be particularly concerned right now. I'm the first to say we're all having greater doubts about polling than we used to, certainly since 2016. And this is different. This is the fate of democracy. This is the future of global stability. Look, I agree with Anna. I think a lot of Americans can keep multiple ideas in mind. What's happened in the last few months is convicted felon, more extreme statements even than ever before. I mean, this cocaine example, this is normal now for Donald Trump to throw anything out there. Joe Biden has an opportunity to not only be aggressive, strong, clear in his message, but presidential. And I actually believe in a very uncertain world, Americans want a stable, sane president. I think Biden wins this debate, and then from there you see that steady improvement in the states we need.
So that's what you think Biden should do. I mean, you prepared Governor DeSantis to debate Donald Trump. It never actually happened, of course, with all of them on the same stage. But what was, if Donald Trump had showed up, which was kind of a really won't he question at the first one, what was the advice for how to deal with Donald Trump on the debate stage?
Well, look, I helped Senator Cruz with those debates in 2016. Donald Trump is a very difficult man to debate. He's unpredictable. He can be volatile. He can also be incredibly charming and disarming in many ways. And in this debate, he has the benefit of going in and not just having to make it about personalities. He has the opportunity to compare his 4 years against Joe Biden's. And no matter what side you're on, you got to recognize the economy and inflation are not in a good place for Americans today.
Wait. It's the best economy in many ways. Hold on. I'm not belittling inflation, but as an overall economy, this is a very strong American economy. We're actually leading the world.
An economy that voters care about right now?
I actually think that voters do care about jobs, and thankfully there's a lot of jobs. I agree we have an inflation challenge. But I would caution to you, I think Joe Biden can take it to Donald Trump. The one thing Donald Trump doesn't do well with is someone being aggressive with him and staying on the offensive.
I think that to a degree that's fair. But I will say this. When you look at the cameras out to people that are hurting back in their houses tonight and figuring out how to pay their bills, can they afford their first home with interest rates being so high? That is what they care about. But just as importantly, you're talking about the global stage. I mean, over the last 4 years, Russia's invaded Ukraine. We saw Russia enter a mutual agreement pact with North Korea last night. You've seen, Hamas attack Israel. The world is unstable right now, and that's a tough spot to be as an incumbent.
And I also think we have to, we talk a lot about Trump amnesia. And I think, I hope Joe Biden reminds the American people where he found us. He found us curled up in our beds, locked up in our houses, in the middle of a pandemic when Donald Trump was telling us to inject bleach to cure it. And so I hope that some of this Trump amnesia that we're all suffering gets cured by Joe Biden next week.
Yeah, and Trump's advantages on immigration and the economy have shrunk, actually. He still has one in this poll, at least, but it's shrunk since earlier this year.
Because it's getting real. People are actually thinking, who do I actually want in that White House? And Donald Trump gets scarier all the time, the things he says, the things he does.
It'll
That's why next week's so important.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating.
Best thing that could have happened to Donald Trump is if that trial had lasted 5 months.
Yeah.
And he would have been stuck there in a freezing room in New York and not spewing out stupid stuff on a daily basis.
Might not have been freezing in the heat wave, but we'll see. It was pretty bad air conditioner. Anna Navarro, Mayor de Blasio, David Polyansky, great to have all of you here. Coming up here tonight on The Source, Louisiana.